I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm going, well, that didn't happen. But look at all the things that I've been able to accomplish and have in my life. And my kids like to talk to me, and I'm good and all that stuff. But I think the biggest, probably most dynamic shift in my life was when I truly felt the bond and the connection to Jesus and God.
Amen.
And I could feel the angels around me, and still today, I still feel that connection. I have not lost it since that next day when we got home after Vegas. That warmth, that strength, the wrap of an angel's wings, I still feel that ultimate bond and connection, and I pray for it every single day, and I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that's carried me, Eric, all the way through to what I'm doing today, and getting out and talking and being a guest on your esteemed podcast, and just being able to share the story. So, yeah, that's probably been the biggest shift in my life in a very peaceful way.
In your world, I find my way. You lift me up when skies are gray. Our perspective, we're flying high. Together we can touch the sky.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Rush Outrospective, a Mastering the Art of Living podcast. Imagine this. You're at a country music festival, boots in the dirt, cold beer in hand. The stage is lit up under the nighttime Las Vegas sky. The crowd is alive, feeling free, singing every word to their favorite Jason Aldean country music song. Then, out of nowhere, chaos hits. Screams, confusion, people running. The music stops. In that split-second moment, when most people ran and some froze, one man steps forward. Welcome to the Rush Outrospective. This is not a place for surface-level conversations. This is where we go above the noise, beyond the headlines, and this is where we ask questions that rattle the walls of comfort. And today's guest is Todd Blyleven. Todd Blyleven is not just a survivor. He's not just a public motivational speaker. He's a man who has stood in the middle of terror and chose to act. Not out of instinct, but out of something deeper: duty, courage, and clarity. His story will move you. But more than that, it will shift something in you. Because this conversation isn't about what happened in a single moment of chaos. It's about what happens afterward. How a man rebuilds, rethinks, rises. Not for applause, but for purpose. Todd, man, welcome to the Rush Outrospective, a Mastering the Art of Living podcast. It's such an honor to have you on the podcast. I have great respect and admiration for your journey and your story, and what you have had to persevere through. Let's touch base. Let's talk about a little bit. We'll touch base on what we're actually talking about, because I don't think maybe there's a lot of people have been far away from the story, what happened in Las Vegas. But walk us through a little bit of that story, and then we'll start with the questions.
Yeah, well, thanks, first of all, for having me on your show.
Yes,
big fan. So,
Thank you.
We went to Las Vegas to, like everybody does when you go to a Nashville scene or a Vegas scene, to unwind. We were just talking off camera about, you getting a chance to have a vacation every once in a while, and that breath that you get to take just to slow things down. And that was Vegas for us. We went to be able to unwind, to cut loose. This 3-day country fest called Route 91 had been going on. It was a safe concert. It was in a safe venue, from what we thought, right? Vegas PD, Metro, firefighters, first responders. Everybody was there for 3 years in a row now. We had seen this. We had felt safe 3 nights, going out, partying, having fun, getting out on the strip. It was just a blast. So in this particular time in 2017, now I was going through a lot. We had just moved here to Texas, and I started a new job, and family was kind of trying to figure out where, schooling and everything else. So we were going through our own difficulties. My wife and I were going through relationship struggles. I think that, probably any person in a relationship could relate to, through the move and all the chaos that life brings, the change. So going to Vegas in that particular year in 2017 was a lot more surrounded around like the healing, the rebuilding, the trying to figure out this new step in life, and there was just so much emotion to it, anyways, Eric. So when we got there, the first 2 nights of the concerts, and then just hanging out with our friends. We had friends coming in from Southern California. We had friends from Texas, friends from other states. So it was about 18 to 20 of us that would party. And every year, when the last performer would come on stage, our girls would always go up to the very front because we were pretty much right next to the stage anyways, but they would wiggle their way. They got up against the rail, they could see the singer, and the guys would sit back about 10 yards or so, 10 feet, whatever that, I guess it would be more like 10 feet, but right behind them. And we'd be drinking our beers and hanging out. And it was just a great time, right? I mean, you're listening to great music under the great stars. You got Vegas to your surroundings. You know you're going out afterwards too. So there's just a lot of fun there. But on this night, we didn't rush the stage. We stayed back for whatever reason. I think I'm a big faith believer. I think there was a hand there that that kept us all back, provided an open area where we were still 30 feet from the stage. We were still super close. We were still in our comfortable environment. I could see the 3 officers off to my right-hand side, right in front of the VIP booth. I had Mandalay Bay across the street to my right. I had Tropicana hotels right behind us, and then the airport to my left. So we're looking at the stage. You got east and west, south and north, right? That was our location. And so for whatever reason, we had this nice opening and we're dancing and we're having fun. And I'm with my niece, which I call my niece. She's not technically my niece, but we were all with all these younger people that called us aunt and uncle. And the weekend was perfect for the most part. Like the relationship was being rekindled. There was a new kind of breath that we were taking, getting ready to go back to Texas in another day because we were leaving the next day to come back home. And there we are. Jason Aldean, one of my favorite artists, is on stage. He's singing a great song that we love to dance to. So I'm dancing with my niece. And the younger people are around us and they're they got their video cameras or their phones out and they're videoing us. And they're asking me to dip Brianna. Like all these things are happening. And all of a sudden you hear these popping sounds, right? And from there, it was an echo that kind of shot over us a little bit, not all in sequence or cadence. And you kind of get into this heightened sense of alert. But I always, I knew where my exit points were just naturally. I mean, my grandfathers were in the Marines. My mom's whole side was all military. I wanted to be a Marine or I wanted to be a cop. If I hadn't have played professional baseball, that's probably what I would have done. So there was always kind of this heightened sense of alert anyways that I had, but, and then being in all these venues. So I look, they're not doing anything. Jason's still singing. So you must be okay. And then the first round of automatic machine gun fire started. And at that time, it was a noise that I had never recognized before. I wasn't in the military. I had never shot that kind of a weapon in an open environment whatsoever, and the noise was absolutely frightening. And so, right away though, you think, okay, it's coming from my right. I could hear that. Maybe it's a drive-by or something going on. There's a 7-foot retainer wall that divides us and Las Vegas Boulevard. Praying that those people are okay. God, I hope cops are going to get whatever is going on. But Jason was still singing. And the cops were now on their walkies. They're doing their thing. So now, like, we're done dancing. I'm kind of getting a little bit closer. I'm trying to kind of rein people in. I think we're all kind of getting a little closer as a pack. I think everybody was sensing what the heck is going on. But he kept singing. And, of course, those musicians, they got their earpieces in and they don't know what's going on. So then the second round started. And when that second round started, it started pretty quick after the first round had ended. That second round started, all of a sudden now you could hear the screams. And they weren't just screams for Jason. Now the lights go out, he ducks down, he runs off stage. Everything got super slow motion, real. You could hear people getting hit around us. You could see people falling. We're right in zone one where that fire was being targeted. And so I told everybody to get down. And as I was down on one knee and hovering over my wife, and you got all my family members around us, I looked up and I saw that muzzle flash coming from the high. It ended up being the 32nd story of where he was at. The man had broken the windows out from the hotel and had all kinds of guns ready to go and thousands of rounds ready to be shot down on 22,000 people. In that moment, when I recognized that it was there, we were sitting ducks. There was nothing cut. We had no coverage. So I looked off to my left, and there was a Budweiser booth about 30 yards, 40 yards of a run. The second round had just ended. I told everybody to get up and run. When we started running, the third round started. And when that round started, you could hear the acoustics. Because of the acoustics, it made it sound like there were multiple shooters inside the venue as well. So now your brain goes into this, I'm under attack mode. We had some issues going on politically at that time with other countries. Why wouldn't, I mean, it's Vegas, right? So now all of a sudden there's this feeling of we're under attack. People are falling. You're running. You're trying to be as big as you can, trying to protect your wife, get her out. That was my main goal. Get my wife out of there, get my family out. Hit me, please. I'm big. I'm strong. I'm running as wide as I can. If a bullet comes through, I'm like trying to just defend whatever I can and just hit me. But we were able to get to that street. I got everybody to Giles Street. There was a cop car there. There were already a couple people that had gone to the cop car that had been injured, a couple women, and there was an officer, a security guard that was hit. And then we decided to, from that location, we were there seconds, got to the squad car in seconds. The round was still going on, and we decided to try to run north towards Tropicana because there were more cop cars, more defense, more safety, right? So I told everybody, get up, let's go, let's run. And as soon as I did that, a man walked running out with a woman in his arms. I quickly ran over to him. She had been seriously injured. We got about 5 feet. I helped him get her, and she didn't make it. At that moment, right away, I knew I needed to do something. So I ran over to my wife, told her I loved her. I gave her a kiss. And I looked at my brother-in-law in the eyes. I said, you need to take the girls and keep running north. I'll find you. And that was it. I watched him run off, and then I ran back in. The fast forward version of this, I ended up running back and forth. That whole incident lasted about 8 hours. The shooting was about 15 minutes or so. It felt like it was an hour and a half of combat. Plus, you had this whole mindset of being under attack. So even though that shooting had stopped, you didn't know what was going on around you. And I ended up carrying out, after counts and people reaching out to me and doing all these investigative conversations and stuff, I ended up carrying about 30 plus people out over my shoulder and my arms. Got another 100 and some odd people out from a kill zone that was happening. They just didn't know there was an exit point on the other side of this venue, of the food truck alley. And so there I am, I'm waving people to keep going, stay low, and now he's firing at us, and you can hear the bullets tinkering off the metal. Wow. But you're just planting, you're trusting, you're believing, God, please just don't hit me, but get these people out. And at the end of the night, we did everything we possibly could to get every single one of those people out of that venue or give them peace inside. I lost 3 women in my arms that night. I lost 2 more in a hospital that I found out later on, which is obviously devastating. But I was able to get a lot out. And the women that I did get out that did pass, I felt passed with grace in a chaotic sense and in the arms of somebody that was truly trying to help them with love and strength so they didn't pass alone on the turf or in that godforsaken place inside. So emotional roller coaster all the way through and through. Every time I felt like I was knocked down, I couldn't do it anymore. There was some inspiration that went through your eyeball, like off your profile, and it just motivated you. There goes another gentleman running in, or another woman, or whatever that was. It was all kinds of people starting to come back out from hiding, which was okay, that you ran for safety first. You got to take care of yourself. But there was all kinds of people, thousands of people that came back to help, hundreds. We had over 500 and something people injured that night from the shooting. 58 lost their lives. 2 more just recently passed over the last few years. So we say it's 58 plus 2. But yeah, absolutely horrible. The night ended for me with, we ended up hearing that Tropicana, the back service entrance of Tropicana, right up Giles Street, that's where the ambulances and stuff were doing their staging area for first responders. So we went back there. There were hundreds of people needing to be loaded up into ambulances. We start to do that, and then we hear there's a shooter on the roof from law enforcement, because law enforcement was scattered all over the city because of all the different shootings and or sightings. People running in had been shot, bomb threats, all kinds of things were going on. So it was mass chaos. So now I'm with an off-duty EMT from Vegas, a fire captain from San Francisco Fire Department, and a Marine. And so the 4 of us are getting all these people inside. There was 1 officer outside, and we're getting all these people now into these tunnels. Well, now we've got 2 corridors running right and left with a door on both sides. And so there were a couple more guys that came up and said, what can we do? How can we help you guys? And we said, well, we need to clear these rooms. We need to make sure there's not a shooter in here, because we got 150 people lined up, sitting down in a runway that runs underneath the casino to the back convention halls. And I said, we need to secure those doors. So I need 2 people staged at both those doors in case someone tries to come in, because we're sitting ducks. Yeah. And so we ended up barreling through doors. There I am, Eric. I can't even believe I was doing this. Like I gave my wallet to the off-duty EMT. He put it in his pouch. I said, if I go down, you better take this SOB with you. You better not take him out. Yeah. And there I am, I'm hitting these doors. And what we're finding is people that had run from the concert that were so scared, they were hiding in pods. Mm. So there were 20 people just huddled up in a dark part of that room. And when I hit one of them, there's like the second or third door, I hit it. And a girl from Texas that lives here, she was part of our group. All of a sudden I hear her calling my name, Todd. And she comes out, and she had been grazed by a bullet in her kneecap. I was cut open, and I was just this ultimate, being reunited. But I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, so I ended up sending her out with the ambulance. That's how tells you how crazy the night was. At the end of that scene, I get her on this ambulance, and we're told that there's a man at the end of the hallway now wielding a knife. Mm. So here I go. All right, I just take off. The 3 guys are behind me. They're following me. I'm like, I wish I had a baseball in my hand. I wish I could throw it at him or something. And I see the guy, and he's just wielding the knife, and people are standing back. And I just started yelling, good guy, bad guy. And I distracted him enough, and he went up with his knife, and I grabbed him. Jesus. I was able to take the knife away, and then everything kind of we secured him, and he's just a scared schizo guy. I mean, you got all kinds of people from Vegas, didn't even know what's going on, being, all these people are running. And so two SWAT officers finally came up to me. I was covered in, unfortunately, stuff on my left side just from carrying so many people out. And one of them put his hands on me, on my shoulder, and he said, "Sir, you can stand down." And they stood over me while I collapsed to the ground and just broke down, brother. You go through that 8-hour journey, and your body's just going and going, and you know what this is like, and it takes everything from you, and you feel completely stripped. Yeah. And so now the nature part of life is calling. I have to use the restroom. Uh, and I get into the restroom and I'm following this officer and he's sweeping it. And then I asked him to watch my six. And so here's this SWAT guy, fully armed, standing outside the door while I'm in the bathroom by myself. And we've all been to this moment where you're in this chaotic, kind of crazy concert, wherever you go into the bathroom and there's silence, right? Well, that moment of silence for me was terrifying. I was scared out of my mind. Like everything just stopped. And I've talked to a lot of combat vets, a lot of people that can relate to that moment afterwards. And so that really got me kind of going really scared. I was really scared. I started to think about the things that I had seen, the things that I had done. So that night in Vegas, ended up being able to reunite with my wife, and we were able to embrace and kiss. And my brother-in-law, he said, "I don't know if I'm supposed to hit you or hug you." So I'm like, well, a hug would be good right now because I couldn't take a hit, man. But I was really honored and proud. It took me a long time to get to this statement where I wasn't second guessing. I mean, I'm a father.
Yeah.
I let my wife run off with my brother-in-law, putting her life in his hands. That's her brother, but it was my job to take care of her and make sure. And thank God, there were 4 gentlemen. I call them angels. They were 4 guys that came out of a condo and basically let 26 people into their place. They barricaded it. And these guys took care of all those people inside. And my wife was one of them. And so she was in a secure location amongst other people there. Had no clue where I was at. Family kept calling her, asking, "Where's Todd? Where's Todd?" She didn't know. So, but I was really lucky to be able to get out of that. I think God had definitely his army of angels watching over me in that moment. I don't think it was, I was given a choice. And I reacted in a way that I was there. I had legs under me. I had arms, and I was very proud that I was there to help people attempt to stay alive.
Yeah, man, like that's as you were going through, I was visualizing almost every single thing you were going through, from going into the porta potty by yourself, the whole gambit of every scenario that played out in front of you, step by step, breaking through the doors. It's just so overwhelming to understand that you were part of this experience. And as I always say with everyone, I should have asked you for if it was okay to talk about this, because you were in a time where I want to honor everyone's suffering, their struggle whenever they deal with trauma. It's like one of these really vulnerable positions. You want to leave here better than you showed up, kind of things. You get your stuff off your chest, but also what you take with you is what you're leaving behind as far as essential tools that you have from this experience. So I want to tell you, thank you very much for sharing that with me. I know it's a trust to be able to put that out there with me, and I appreciate you for doing that. So I want you to know I respect you for your efforts to help everyone that was going through a very, very serious traumatic time in their lives for that one day. This is what part of this podcast is about having some deep reflections, right? To see where this story. When we look back at it, if you could time travel 24 hours before the event that changed your life, would you say it changed your life in many ways?
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could whisper one sentence to your past self, what would you say? 24 hours before this event.
Trust your instincts and just say yes.
Yeah. And man, you sound like you did exactly that. You trusted your instincts all the way as I was listening to you. So where did you get this mindfulness of watching your six and knowing where everyone was positioning and positioning other individuals and where they need to go and giving that direction? Where do you think you inherit that I would say leadership is leadership's in the face of such a traumatic experience. Where do you think you got that from?
I think my dad was a professional baseball player, so I got a chance to watch him go through that daily routine of structure and grind and always achieving his ultimate version of success every day. My two grandfathers, one was a gunny in the Marine Corps for 25 years. My other grandfather was a bomb specialist in the Navy. So I grew up wearing fatigues. I grew up a devil pup, them taking me on the bases. I grew up wanting to be a soldier all the way through and through. And my goal for being a soldier was to get trained, to then be an officer. That's what I wanted to do. Or I was going to play baseball because I love baseball. And, my college years, I ended up wanting to join the Marine Corps and maybe, think about, maybe playing baseball as a secondary option. But I got drafted. And through that experience, I think just learning more about myself, always being kind and attentive to others. I'd always been in that situations where I was 17 years old and I'm in Farmington, New Mexico at the Connie Mack World Series playing baseball. And in between games, I'm going to join a group of my teammates at another host family's house because host families, it's an amazing experience. But on the way there, we're walking down this road going to this house, and there's this pickup truck that comes barreling by us, misses the turn, hits trees, goes tumbling into this little, oh yeah, horrible. The truck catches on fire. I'm running over because there's a man hanging upside down in this truck in the cab, and big guy. And luckily, I was able to pull him out and get him, drag him a few yards away from the truck. And my buddies are sitting there going, "What did you do? Like, what? Why would you do that? Like, we got a game to play." And I'm going, "Are you kidding me? There's a man that could have burned, And so that was always been my instinct. And I think I inherited that from my grandfathers. They're just that my mom's presence, her family, all military, Air Force, everybody. I think that just honor and pride to serve others. I think that my dad instilled this toughness in me, this no blood, no foul, that I've had to work hard to overcome and become more vulnerable in my life through that experience in Vegas and learn how to raise your hand and understand that that's a sign of strength, that when you actually ask for help and you ask for forgiveness, it makes you stronger as a man, as a person in this world. And my faith.
Yeah.
I think my beacon of light, my faith, although I never really understood how strong it was always there in moments of time when I needed it to be. And that really, carried me through as well.
That's, yeah, for sure, man. That's really cool, man. You've had these pillars of modeled behavior from your grandparents. Just you modeled their mental fortitude and action-oriented individuals. What they say, actions made individuals. If I told you that everything you've been through wasn't random, that it was a series of calls to action leading you to this moment, what lessons were you supposed to learn?
I think I was, stay humble. I think the lessons you learn through struggle and trauma and adversity is how to rise. The fight that you have, the perseverance, you learn more about yourself. And I think in turn, in that time of being able to learn how I am supposed to evolve, how I'm supposed to live, how I'm supposed to keep a smile on my face after seeing so much terror, right? That God forbid, nobody else is exposed to. I think you're given a gift to be able to share that journey. And so I think it's been be open, be more vulnerable, let the peace side of your life come in. You don't always have to be the beast. Your own version of success, right?
Yeah.
We all define success in certain ways, and we all want to have this, pat on the back, and we want to be able to go into a boardroom and create a presentation, and then people high-fiving us and, patting us on the butt, and like we find in sports, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen that way. And so a lot of times we walk out of these moments after spending so much time on something or making ourselves better and not getting the gratification. But do we really need that?
Yeah.
Can we just do it ourselves?
Mm.
And I think that's what I've learned a lot is trying to just find that peaceful moment within my life every day, being able to understand what really matters to me most and making sure that I hold on to that and I grab it. So um, I, I think all these times of being knocked down in my life, the adversities, the depressions of transitioning from professional athlete into the real world, what I'm supposed to do, how do you define all these moments of success, going through a corporate sports endeavor, learning really from the scratch on how do I even present a presentation to a board meeting. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. YouTube University is amazing, right?
Yeah.
It helps us on all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, like I mentioned, I think just making sure that we all stay humble. And for me personally, um, it's not about the million followers. It's not about the signatures. It's not about the money. It's about how I can wake up with peace every day, knowing that I did something to help somebody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. One of my friends says, a guy named Chip, he said a quote that said, um, my number one goal in life is to love the person in front of me.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like this whole impactful. It was so simple because
So easy. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it really comes down to like loving the person in front of you, and I think you do it by act as a love is an act of being, right? And in that moment of terror, and in this moment, you were you were loving the individual to loving enough to help save them, right? Do you consider yourself a hero?
No, I know that when you look definition, a lot of people have told me, no, do you even know what the definition of a hero is? And putting yourself in front of others and all these things. I don't, Eric. I think that truly believe I was called upon in that moment to help, and I said yes, and I did what I was told, and all I tried to do was help as many people as I possibly could stay alive, and that's all I've done pretty much my entire life. I've always been giving. I've always been kind. I don't consider myself a hero. I think the brave heroes that I encountered that night, the 5'2" blonde nurse that was running out as I'm running in, grabs me on my right shoulder and says, I'm a trained trauma nurse. What can I do to help? She took her skill sets that she had worked hard on. She was a military MP and I guess a corpsman, and she did all these cool things. But she ended up building 3 triage centers that night in Vegas and probably saved hundreds of people through her leadership and guidance. The brave nurse, or secondary nurse, another probably 3 or 4 minutes later, that came out of hiding because I was calling for a nurse because there was a woman that had been shot 3 times. She came out of hiding. We were both shot at. She ends up leaps over this bar thing and helps this woman stay alive. And it's all captured on camera, and you could see like this heroism, right? To me, I know I was in it.
Yeah.
I get it. But the people that I saw do brave acts, I think we can all be heroes every single day through that kindness and the love, right? So if that's what I'm trying to be and be a hero of life, yeah, that's, I guess, a big aspiration, but I don't consider myself a hero.
Okay. We've had conversations before, and I heard that you were a World Series champion. Is that right? Is that right? Or?
So in 2000, so my dad has 2 rings. He's got a Hall of Fame ring, and then in 2002, I was a major league scout, a professional scout with the Angels, and so I ran around and identified flaws in players that we were about to play.
Yeah.
So all my scouting, along with 2 other individuals. So when I was given a World Series ring that next year, which was really amazing, I ended up getting a player's ring, and it was absolutely like, for me, that success moment of being able to wear that thing meant the world. And from the scouting side too, when you're out walking, that next year, and you're out with your buddies that are from other teams, you're showing that bling bling off, and they're jealous. But yeah, it was a very emotional, amazing feeling, being awarded that that World Series ring.
Okay, and the reason I set you up for this question is because, if we look back in your life, would this story of what happened in Vegas be a part of like championship quality, like championship response, life championship, as a life champion, where you said, I've championed this cause at this particular moment. And were there other parts, include this one? Would you consider this a life championship moment for you?
I think as far as what I was, if I look at myself and I grade myself on
Yeah.
my active courage and what I was able to do to help people, I think definitely I achieved that championship status, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's really tough because I had that ring on that night. And I carried a woman out that didn't make it. And she was a young girl. And I remember I had my hand over her, and I looked down after she had passed, and there's my ring looking at me. And so in that moment of like championship or success, I had to turn it upside down. And so I stood up, and there I am. I'm standing over her, and someone throws me a water, and I'm pouring water on myself. And I've got my ring turned upside down, and I look at it again, and it wasn't a moment of success, right? It took it all away in that moment of darkness. And so in that struggle now over the last several years, I'm wanting to put the ring back on. I haven't put it on in that length of time because I want to take it back. I want that championship feeling back. I want that success moment. That was an amazing moment in my life. And so I'm taking pieces of that back, but you have to do it on your terms, on your time. I couldn't do it up until now. So I'm meeting with my pastor, like just talking about things. And so just that question right there brings up like, I think I'm very proud of myself on what I did that night. I'm very proud of what I've done on other nights where I've been able to help people, whether it's car accidents or giving someone a ride, even though my wife yelled at me one time, like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm like, he didn't look dangerous to me, but who knows, right? But yeah, it's a really good question though.
Yeah.
Really good question.
That's interesting. Oh, yeah. Well, when your time is right to put on a ring, I can't wait for that to happen.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
It'll represent a lot of things, won't it?
Yeah.
Not just a accolade as a professional baseball scout, but in the moment of when it really mattered, when it really counted, when someone really needed you, were you there, right?
Yeah.
So man, that'd be awesome. I can't
Thanks.
wait for you to achieve that.
Me too.
There's a moment in every person's life when perception of the world permanently shifts. What was yours outside of this particular incident? We know that there was a shift in this. Has there been any other times where your perception of life has shifted?
I think this definitely provided the springboard for this shift in my life. I think for me personally, I've had a lot of those different moments, whether it was being drafted and signed as a professional athlete to the moment that I had to walk away from the game and that rise to try to figure myself out, to all the emotional roller coasters that life has to bring, the being a father of my children and seeing them born. I think that was amazing. And so it shifts all these dynamics, these parallels that you walk through, these visions, these dreams I wanted to be a rancher at some point. I wanted to be a real cowboy. I wanted to, have steers, and I wanted to do all these things. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm going, well, that didn't happen. But look at all the things that I've been able to accomplish and have in my life. And my kids like to talk to me, and I'm good and all that stuff. But I think the biggest, probably most dynamic shift in my life was when I truly felt the bond and the connection to Jesus and God.
Amen.
and I could feel the angels around me, and still today, I still feel that connection. I have not lost it since that next day when we got home after Vegas. That warmth, that strength, the wrap of an angel's wings, I still feel that ultimate bond and connection, and I pray for it every single day, and I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that's carried me, Eric, all the way through to what I'm doing today, and getting out and talking and being a guest on your esteemed podcast, and just being able to share the story. So, yeah, that's probably been the biggest shift in my life in a very peaceful way.
Yeah, you also you're a public speaker, motivational speaker. You inspire people with your story. Do you see that as a blessing as well, as far as this experience and your life experience as a scout and a baseball player? Do you see that as it just kind of an inner, like all these gifts are right in front of you that God's presented before you?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. We all walk through the fire
Yeah.
at some point in our life, and sometimes we walk through multiple fires in our life,
Yeah.
right? And but in that moment when we do rise and we get to come out of the ashes, and that we leave that smoldering fire behind us, we're stronger and we're taller. And for me, that journey of being able to rise through the ashes of things has come with learning how to express my creativity through poetry or writing songs. I was on a phone call this morning with a Christian artist, very well known, that may take on a couple of the songs that I've written and
wow.
sing these, right? I've got a country song, I got a rap, believe it or not. A guy that knows melodies and stuff turned one of my pieces of poetry called Warrior's Decree into a really cool rap song.
Wow.
And so there's all these moments that happen, but I wrote a book, Walking with Trauma. I'm writing a scouting book in baseball, and it's just unlocked the endless possibilities of what we really can do when we put our mind to it.
Yeah.
And when we open up our network and our friendships and we allow people into our lives, you learn from others too. And now, how can I help you? How can you help me? Because we don't have to do this all ourselves.
Yeah. I always say that our stories aren't meant to be carried alone, right?
Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Most people never get a chance to have their life flash before their. Oh, I know. No, I was going to ask you this. You went through this traumatic experience, and we're going to kind of equate this to, because you had shared some things about family problems that you were experiencing before going and that kind of thing. And I'm gonna talk about blind spots right now. I'm gonna ask you the question, then you kind of see blind spots that you have as you went through this experience has taught you. Okay, so you spend your life evaluating talent first as an athlete and then as a scout. If you were to scout yourself right now, what would you say are your strengths that you've carried from every phase of this, even in the November incident? It was November, right?
October.
October event. What were your strengths, and what have you realized are some of your blind spots that, as far as your personal being, and not just the actions of that night? Or
Well, I think the strengths that I realized that I had and that I have today still, that make me the lion that I've always wanted to be, was my perseverance, my fact finding abilities, my intuition of being able to lead in an extreme situation. That's carried on from the field to the boardrooms to other areas of my life. The adversity and the belief that you can do anything, right? So the never stopping your boots from moving forward. I think those were kind of my bigger strengths. And then the blind spots was, the asking for help, try to do everything on your own. The empathy at times that you don't show everyone. I mean, there was an incident with my wife. She was in a car accident, and it caused her some anxiety, right? It still does today. And I kind of blew that off a little bit. I had this mentality, more the way my dad was raised, the way he was raised, of like, just get over it. Like what, or go see someone and go talk to somebody about it. So the lack of empathy that I shared prior to myself being completely knocked down and then wanting empathy myself, right? You don't know that. So that was a huge blind spot for me. Even though I was a kind person, I don't think I was as kind or sincere as I am today. And the passion. The other blind spot I think is the over expectations that I had on myself. The always wanting, like I was supposed to be a big league pitcher. I was supposed to make all kinds of money, right? I was supposed to be in the limelight and do all these really cool things on the baseball field. And that was my version of success. And so the blindness that I had in not always seeing what was truly in front of me right there with my kids and spending that time, yeah, that was huge. But now you work on those, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say I'm a totally different now. It's probably, I think I have all the strengths, and now I have all the, well, I don't have all the blind spots, but they're definitely parts of my strength.
You're aware of them.
I'm stronger now.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Yeah, I have a friend, Todd Turner. He lives around our area. Actually, he has a divorced podcast, right? And he talked about how he went through a divorce, and he really didn't. He always just told people, whatever. But then when he went through it, he he's like, man, I missed everything. My blind spots were everywhere. And now he hosts this podcast where he actually educates people on how to get through their marriage or whatever kind of things they got going on.
That's cool.
So that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people never get a chance. It's a question. Most people never get a chance to have their life flash before their eyes. You've had that. What's one thing you realize matters more than you ever thought, and the one thing you realize that mattered far less? You may have answered some of this already, but let's just tap into it again and see if we get something else.
Well, I think you can relate to this, and probably people that are listening that have been in extreme situations, whether it's a combat situation or just something in life that has allowed you to see yourself and that life flash before your eyes. I think the one thing that you realize that means the most is what is tangible in your life, what you have in front of you that wants to be with you, right? Wow. Your kids, your spouse, your dog, the things that you have, the truck and all that stuff, it's great, but those things that really make you feel good, your family, your relationship with God and Jesus, how you're connecting to all of that, the good stuff, right? I think the things that I think the second question was taking things for granted. What was
was it that one things you realize matter far less?
That matter far less. The version of success.
Yeah.
It all goes out the window. I'm not in competition with anything anymore. Yeah, work is important. Drama, the level of drama stuff that I think we all get entangled with all the time. That right there set a new low on the totem pole for me. I don't want to deal with drama, but I realize that your version of drama, if we're talking about a certain topic, might mean a lot to you. And so I have to be able to give, even though I've learned that that's not important in my life, to get escalated over things, that might mean a lot to you. And so in other words, in one way, I'm learning more about my empathy and my self peace, to be able to slow myself down to truly understand why it is that you're getting this big anxiety over a certain topic. And then hopefully I can bring more peace into that, and we can simmer the drama down in a way that you're going to feel validated, opposed to me just blowing it off, which I think I probably did a lot because I was an athlete. I was raised tough. I didn't want to have to deal with all this stuff. So now I'm like, well, hold on. Let me see your point of view. I may not agree with you, and we still might have drama, but understanding is the key. So I think, it's a good question. I know we've talked a lot about different things.
Yeah, that's a great concept that that's what the rush out perspective is about. It's about um, uh, looking outwardly and seeing your individual and collective values with somebody else to see if you can find a better way of how to live your life with cognitive empathy and not ego. Cognition meaning that you understand. Empathy alone is an emotional trap. Blah 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 blah. But cognitive empathy is you understand how someone could get to that place where they understand
Yeah.
where they're going through that emotion or going through the perception of things. So yeah, that's exactly what you're speaking to. Mastering the art of living. I got one or two more questions left. Mastering the art of living is about active creation. Talk about what you're doing. I know you got a lot. You got a podcast. You got all these creative things. Talk about that stuff that you're actively working on and mastering
Yeah.
creatively.
So I've got a podcast called I'm Going In. I'm super excited about that. I bring on guests.
Got to check it out, guys.
Yeah, sharing stories of strength and adversity. Your podcast was amazing. And then I wrote a book called Walking with Your Trauma. So through my speaking engagements and just learning more about that, I've been asked to write a book. And so I wrote this little short book, short guidebook. So wrote that. That's on Amazon. And then I'm writing a life story book. So I'm about 220 pages in. On that. That's super deep, super heavy, very emotional. And the goal there is to really educate. I go into a lot of detail on, especially on Vegas and the emotional up and down, the roller coaster of things. Life itself, it's got some entertainment piece with the background in sports. So there's some lightheartedness as well. But at the end of that book, the main goal is for someone that's read it to take that deep breath and to realize that everything that they might be fighting for might actually be rotated around a little bit and reprioritized in life to give them a more peaceful step forward. Because we all add too much anxiety on our plate. We all add too much trauma and too much drama. And so writing this has been very therapeutic for me. There's a movie script that's been written on my life story. I can't believe it, but it's a great story. It shares a story of strength and resilience and faith, and yeah, super powerful. And it's amazing how like life, God puts you in situations and you carry all this weight, and at some point you just go, man, why are you putting all this on me?
Yeah.
I'm already down. But it's that there's a story there that can be told on how you're able to rise up, right?
Yeah.
To get your legs under you, to
Yeah.
stand back up, to face it, to
Yeah.
walk forward, that lion, let it roar, be a strong beast, but you got peace walking with it. So yeah, I write poetry, I got the songs.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I embrace it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks.
Couple more things. This last question, but then I'll ask you to do a call to action in a few minutes. If you had to sum up your life in a 6-word sentence, your personal philosophy, your mission, what would it be?
Oh, 6 words. All right. Love wins with strength and empathy.
Love wins with strength and empathy. Awesome. Also,
There you go.
I want to ask you also. Your dad had a quote that he always say when you were running up a mountain, you would run like you said.
Yeah.
What was it again?
No stopping here.
No stopping here. I like that.
stopping
Man.
here.
I like that. We're gonna have to make some T-shirts. You and I will partner up and
Hey.
and make some money for this thing because I think it'd be really good to no stopping here.
I'm in. Let's go.
Here.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right. Last thing I do with all my guests is to do a call to action. Give someone praise. Give someone that you know needs that extra. Call them out by name. Make sure if it's your wife, say it. My wife, Linda, whatever, and then give whoever you want to get. Now I put pressure. You have to do your wife too.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but do shout out to a team, whoever you want to give it out to.
I think for me, there's so many of you that have stood by me from an international level to national. I think my pals, my rocks, guys that I truly can talk to that have relatable experiences in what I went through that have been there with me side by side. Lee, Woody, Chad, Chat, Mark, Steve, Nick, all you guys have been my pals. I can call you anytime. I appreciate you. I love you. Of course, my wife, my family, my dad, this whole journey, just everybody that's been there for me, that's ever opened up a door to allow me to have success and put a smile on my face. My pastor, John, over at Hope Fellowship, got to call that out. Yeah, I love that place. They have truly they don't understand how much they have brought such a positive light and impacted me and my soul. Just from the first day of going to church after that horrible incident and being in the back row crying. I'm listening to this beautiful music and I'm down and I'm crying. I didn't even know the pastor was there, and he put his hand on my shoulder. And it was just that feeling going, okay, and then he went up and he gave his sermon, and it's just been amazing. So I'm super thankful to have people like him and the congregation and just others in my life. So thanks for having me on your podcast. And
thank you, man.
Thanks for being on mine.
Hey, yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Hey, we're thanking each other here.
I know.
No, man. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story. It's such like I said, such an honor to be blessed, be trusted to hold on to your experience with you and share that, take some of that load and share it. Share it. And like I always say, it's not the talking, it's the listening. And when I listen, every time I listen, I hear somebody talking, holding up a mirror to my story, and I feel like that we share a common bond with that way.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys, that's good to have you on the podcast, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, Todd.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for the Rush Outrospective, a Mastering the Art of Living podcast. As I always say, have peace in the light in you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river. It's a wrap, brother.
That was deep. That was good.
Oh, yeah.
In your world, I find my way. You lift me up when skies are gray.